do you see as the barriers, if any, to exporting our smarts and exporting our innovation? And if you don't see any, then why aren't we creating more wealth as a result of our environmental markets and our technologies? Ben is probably the best one to start with.
Yeah, look, I think Australia undoubtedly is a high-cost, sort of high-value place to do business. We can't be hoping to export the same old stuff that every other country makes. We're going to lose at that one every time. We've got to be innovative. We've got to have commercial innovation, technology innovation. But there are good examples of companies who come up with the world's best technology in Australia and are managing to export it. I think it can be done, but it can't be the result of old thinking.
I think one of the key barriers from my conversations with small business is the management of risk. You know, they're not experts in how to actually understand and manage the risk that you face when you do the export market.
Yeah.
It scares a lot of them off.
That's probably right. Lou?
Well, my observation from talking about this with companies is that for certainly SMEs, the main barrier is the ability to finance the developments, and often I think it's well known that Australia, in terms of developing the number of patents per head, is on a world scale very innovative, but it's taking it to that step of producing a commercial product where we don't really pass the muster. And often the export of innovation consists of selling those companies to an overseas corporation, unfortunately.
Which in one sense is quite innovative for the person who makes the money. Yes. So
that they end up getting a second best return for their efforts.
Indeed. Now, Tom, I appreciate you're not Austrade, but...
Absolutely, yeah, and part of my comments was going to include mention of them. I'd echo Lou's comments that the companies that I've dealt with in my role at Oz Industry have always talked about financing export drives as a big drama, and of course that's where, you know, organisations like EFIC can come in conjunction with...
Everybody knows who EFIC is?
Export Finance Investment Corporation, Corporation. And Austrade can help companies on their way, of course. I've also heard, and this may be just sort of the odd isolated case, I've also heard a couple of cases where companies have been reluctant to sort of pursue a broader growth, just or at least reluctant to enter the Asian market for fear of sort of being copycatted, basically, and for having their innovation stolen from under their nose. They prefer to go into a better regulated or a more, what would you call it?
A market that protects IP.
Yeah, a market where IP protection is I suppose seriously done.
Protected and enforced.
Yeah, protected and enforced. And I've talked to at least a couple of businesses at least who have decided to pursue, you know, America or Europe before Asia, even though Asia represents a vastly larger market.
What would be your observations around, dare one say, policy on innovation in adaptation in this country? Is it something that you think that when we realise what the cost of what these most recent events, particularly over the last 18 months to 2 years, have meant to us, do you think that's going to move, not necessarily business per se, but perhaps more so the community or society in Australia to innovate? In other words, embrace change?
I think anyone who now can't get insurance against flood has no alternative but to be an innovator in order to protect their assets.
The insurance guys got climate change 15, 20 years ago. You don't see them arguing against it. Have they done enough to sort of mitigate and support technologies for mitigation? I don't see that much evidence of that. I think they could be on the front lines fighting for the right policies, fighting for technology investment. That makes sense for everybody.
And I think I'll let Tom and Lou take a pass on that.
Thank you.
The one thing you think that will be a solution to the challenge of innovation in this country that you would like to see, doesn't have to be your organisation, you would like to see happen perhaps in the next 2 to 5 years? Who wants to go first? Ben's always got one, so I'll let him go first.
I think it's broader adoption of what most experts recognise as the biggest hurdle to innovation in Australia is lack of collaboration. I'd like to see broader collaboration, looking at systemic change rather than looking at sub-optimised, micro changes.
Tom?
Personally, I agree with Ben's comments earlier about mining being sort of what will be our past in 2 or maybe 2 or 3 decades, and I sort of am wondering what's going to come after the resources boom, and so I'd like to sort of see an acceleration of the thinking around what's going to be Australia's competitive advantage going forward, and the coalescence of sort of like thinking around that, so that those areas can be taken forward, and we can look forward to some sort of prosperous future beyond, having a country full of big holes.
Thank you. Lou?
I think collaboration is the standout, and it's about the provision of the information to individual enterprises on how best to go about doing that. Because I think at the moment one of the biggest barriers is just not knowing where to go to find the information to best optimise their business.
Yep. So collaboration, the vision thing, information. Ross?
Can I give you one from left field?
Sure.
Oh, I think we've got to keep the population productive. You've got to do more than stand up and say work till you drop, or raise the pension age by a year every so often. I think there needs to be a whole lot of innovation about how you keep people productive, and innovative financing ways and innovative cultural and social ways to keep people engaged in the workplace and being productive.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for your participation.